Alright everyone, we start off today with acknowledging Tucker Carlson gets to say told you so with regards to the NSA spying scandal that involves him. Now, it was self-evident initially that his claim was right, which is that he had knowledge the NSA had spied on his communications. They had issued a non-denial essentially, so that was kind of telling, but also keep in mind the NSA spies on everyone. Now, the circumstances here mean not only is it inevitable that he was spied on, but like explicitly, that's the whole goal of what the NSA does. I'll try to explain, and of course, archive link in the description. However, first and foremost, if you're watching this video on YouTube, keep in mind there will be a pinned comment down below with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. I make 4 videos every single day, but only 2 end up on YouTube because of verboten subjects and algorithmic manipulation. Now, this story has gotten much more interesting. Axios, again, link in the description, archived, getting a scoop here that apparently the tip-off involved with Carlson's initial claim involves someone who was able to identify specific communiques that you would have had to have been spying on Tucker Carlson to know happened. Apparently, around that time, he was trying to reach out to the Kremlin, actually. Now, the first part of it, the first proof would be just it's automatic. If you are communicating with any particular foreign target, and the NSA, of course, is going to be targeting the Kremlin, the people, you know, the staff and everything there, because Russia is a competitor and at least diplomatically a hostile state to the United States interests, of course we're spying on them. It's obvious. They're spying on everything they can, too, within the U.S. as well. This is the name of the game. So the first part is just, it's like a no-duh situation. Of course you're being spied on. That doesn't necessarily prove malevolent intent, but Carlson essentially got them to non-deny the fact that they had swept up his communications. But now we're hearing, according to this particular scoop, that actually they were able to identify the person tipping off Carlson, the actual communications. Well, they wouldn't have seen those. Some low-level NSA staffer or something doesn't see those unless they're, being actively reviewed, presumably. So I guess someone that's more of a fan of him is like, well, this is horseshit, and decided to be a whistleblower. The NSA has already, though, let us not forget, gotten in trouble before for its practices. Snowden revealed that they were lying flat out to the U.S. public for weeks and weeks when they kept trying to do damage control in the wake of his releases initially, and he was smart for doing this. He released a relatively limited amount of material. The NSA then was given by Snowden enough rope to hang itself over and over again because he kept proving that their previous explanation was wrong. I remember it like as plain as I see the webcam right now. I remember he comes out initially and saying, well, the NSA is spying on all of you. Oh, no, it's just foreign targets involved with this. So, unless you're outside the U.S. or talking to, like, Osama bin Laden or something, no, we're not spying on you. Then we found out that wasn't true. Then they said, well, don't worry, we're just taking the metadata. Unless we are getting a warrant, we're not looking through anything else. Then we found out it was more than metadata. Oh, yeah, but it's not all of your digital shit. It's, like, just text messages and stuff. No, well, it's also emails, social media messages, literally everything. Over and over again, Snowden released limited chunks of info, obviously designed to accomplish this very purpose, successfully I'd say, to get the NSA to make denials that could be disproven. The NSA came under such fire that even Congress was looking into the situation now. They put a band-aid on a gaping wound and basically punted and said, okay, the government can't keep storing this data because it breaches the Fourth Amendment. Google and all these other companies should store it. And then we just have to ask them permission. Like Apple's going to say, now, you know what? They've got a FISA warrant and they want this info on this person, but we're not going to give it to them. Don't you think they share that data explicitly? They even sell that fucking data. They're happy to store it for the federal government. It's horseshit. What the NSA is involved with is unconstitutional. Congress decided to punt in order to get the initial court case to disappear, because the federal courts ruled in favor of the plaintiffs and said, look, what they're doing here is unacceptable. But until there's another court case that gets up there, which, there probably won't be because they'll hesitate to take the case knowing which direction it'll go in, then the NSA is free to continue doing this horseshit. The former head of the NSA himself came out and said that this is basically like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You're sweeping up too much information. It's not targeted enough. We have to go through it all, and it's really not even helpful. I remember fondly. You remember the Boston Marathon bombing with the Tsarnaevs? You remember how the older brother there, the one that died, he was in like Chechnya getting radicalized, and Russian intel warned the FBI, hey, this dude's coming back. He's been completely warped by Islamofascism. He's posting like praise Osama on Facebook for the public to see, and the FBI still didn't manage to stop him from buying a half a dozen pressure cookers and killing dozens of people. What a lapse in judgment that was. This is the result of this kind of intelligence apparatus. It's all-encompassing, but it's so unfocused and so frenetic that it doesn't help anyone. Of course Carlson was being spied on, especially when he tried to communicate with the Kremlin, and now he can prove it, essentially. I guess this is why he probably came out when he did very publicly. Because at the risk of being ridiculed, if he knows, because the person on the other end of the line is telling him specifically the communications that would otherwise be private, well, where else did they discover that? I'm assuming that Tucker Carlson hasn't been hacked by malware or something, so that leaves one significant possibility, which is the NSA. But it was a no-brainer. Of course, if you're communicating with the Kremlin. Do you think that if I email the Kremlin, the NSA doesn't have that email? if I'm trying to email Vladimir Putin my recipe for borscht or something like that, yeah, of course, the NSA now knows that recipe too. By the way, you're not getting my leek soup recipe, which I don't have yet. Got to design that one. So you can't, hands off of my Mugu Gai Pan developments. So he was right. Now I wonder, is Stelter going to come out and apologize? The CNN wonks and nerds there, are they going to apologize for insinuating that he was nuts? I loved it when they were comparing him to Alex Jones. Okay, so a heavily censored man that turned out to be right 9 times out of 10, but only belatedly, so Tucker Carlson will be proven right? Well, he just was. Well, I guess he is like Alex Jones now, isn't he? Alex Jones, another martyr to the cause of free speech, who fundamentally was correct in many of his most bizarre surmisings, simply because we're off the rails, dude. We're in bizarro world. We are, off in La La Land at the moment. The government is dysfunctional. Society is becoming more dysfunctional. Therefore, all the bizarre things that are said by people who would have been considered nuts 5 years ago, they're coming true. Yes, you're being spied on. Yes, there are subversives trying to destroy civilization. Apparently, these are true things. Well, there was targeted spying on Tucker Carlson's Kremlin communications. Probably more than that. How do we know that it doesn't go further? The NSA doesn't really deny in their initial release, which they wouldn't have done this release at all if they hadn't panicked, just to be clear. They didn't deny that they spied on him. They use weasel words. It was written by a really world-class lawyer. It wasn't written by a bureaucrat. It wasn't written by an NSA agent or by the head of the NSA. It was written by someone clearly with a Harvard law degree. Be interesting to see which lawyer wrote that real gem, that real beauty, as Trump would call it. That's about all. Peace out.